Welcome to the show, everyone. I want to send an invitation to you to join our team if you are a health, fitness, or wellness professional, or if you would like to share your story of remarkable health recovery, unique fitness achievement, or amazing weight loss. Today, we do have a health recovery story with my guest who is returning to the show. He's contributed a lot to Health Fitness Broadcast and shared his story, but now we're going to share updates. And my guest today is Steve Brown from Philadelphia. He is a triathlete and a team and training coach. He is a author and motivational speaker. Welcome back to the show, Steve.
Sherri, thanks very much. It's great to talk to you again.
Yes, it's been a while, so a lot of things have happened. So I want to take you back to the day a few years ago. It was in 2006 when you were
Okay.
diagnosed. So if you could share a little bit of that with us and what you were doing prior to that, and yeah.
I remember the day very well. It was February 24th, to be exact. And that anniversary date is creeping upon us. It's
Yes.
funny how I remember that. I remember the 24th, the diagnosis date, so much better than anything else associated with the disease. But yep, February 24th, about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I sat in an oncologist's office and heard him say the words chronic lymphocytic leukemia for the first time. And it took some adjusting. I wasn't in any mental capacity to comprehend any of that kind of thing. Had been very active leading up to that. Had already accomplished a lot in terms of the triathlon and multi-sport world and marathon, and always healthy, always took care of myself. And
And
this
you're wondering
diagnosis,
why, were you
why
wondering
me?
why
Yeah,
me? I do so much to take care of my health.
that's absolutely right. I definitely played the why me card for a little while, and then I assumed that he had the wrong chart, and I tell people that all the time.
Hmm.
I thought if I just sat quietly for a minute, he'd ruffle through the right paperwork and say, "Oh,
And
geez, I'm
realize,
sorry, my bad." Yeah,
yeah, sorry about that. Oops.
right.
So then, when he told you, how did you tell your family? Because you have two adorable girls,
Two
and
adorable girls, and
yeah.
actually, our family's grown since we've last spoken, and we have now an adorable granddaughter.
Oh, fantastic.
But at the time, my daughters were in high school, and you know, I I'm their dad, right? And little girls, like many little girls, looked up to their father and looked up to me, and I was kind of like the the super dad, that was very involved. I was active in their sports as their coach or supporter. I was an athlete myself. I was doing a lot of cool things, and I know that they looked up to the lifestyle that I was living, and I know I was leading and setting great examples for them. So having to sit them down on the couch that day in 2006 and explain to them that I had a leukemia, I had a blood cancer, and that it was going to involve chemotherapy. That was probably one of the most difficult things I've ever had to do, and absolutely by far the toughest part of the disease, including comprehending the diagnosis myself
Yourself,
and then
yeah.
going through all the treatment. The toughest thing I did was having to communicate that to my daughters.
But it didn't hold you back, but a day, because you got right to it, and you explained before how you ran, and you imagine just the cancer just dripping off of you. It's the further you ran, the further away it went, so to speak.
It's correct. I played a lot of head games with the cancer, and I continued to stay in shape the best I could. If it was a non-treatment week, I was trying to work out really hard to get back up to some kind of physical level. And even during treatments themselves, the hospital where I was treated was only about a mile and a half from here, and I was treated as an outpatient, luckily, so I could go in the morning, get my treatment, come home in the late afternoon. So on days that I felt up to it, I would just make sure I was dressed to run, and I would run home from treatment. And I say that not to sound boastful or egotistical, or that was part of my therapy. That was an opportunity for me to take control of something in what
And
I.
stand up and say, "This isn't going to beat me. I'm going to beat
That's
it."
exactly right.
So
Yep.
you went through. Now, prior to this, you had gone through. You had ran a lot of marathons before
Hmm.
that, and then this, and then afterwards, you went through the treatment, and then you continued to race multiple
I,
races.
I did.
How
Yeah.
many how many marathons have you run so far?
Total to date,
Yeah, it's a lot.
um, 25.
Awesome. That's awesome.
At 11 Ironman triathlons, full distance Ironman triathlons, and that's, I guess it's all relative, to someone who's never done one or has done a couple. That's huge. And I'm proud of the accomplishment, but I'm not impressed by the accomplishment, because there are people who are accomplishing far greater feats than that. And I think I'm more proud of the other number, which is I've sat through 46 rounds of chemo. So I think that's,
Yes.
for me,
Yes.
the more telling statistic than the number of marathons or the number of triathlons.
Yes. You are an inspiration to a lot of people. And being a coach, being able to motivate individuals who have gone through similar things, what are some tips that you give them? Emotional tips, those mind games, and some physical running tips also.
It, you know, I talk to newly diagnosed patients all the time, and I talk to new athletes all the time. And sometimes they are one and the same person. Sometimes they're two separate beings. Um, I had an opportunity to talk to my wife's cousin last weekend, who was just recently diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and he was lying in the hospital at Penn, and he said, "I want to reach out to Steve. I want to talk to Steve." And all of a sudden, my heart kind of dropped because I've had these conversations all the time with strangers, but when it was a loved one and a family member, I'm like, "Oh man, I this better be meaningful, whatever I'm going to say, because it's really going to matter." But the advice I tried to give to him is, you can't don't try to comprehend the enormity of all this right now today, lying in the hospital bed. You have to take it in very small, incremental, bite-sized chunks, and you have to look at what's next this afternoon, what's next tomorrow, what's going to happen next week, and not, you know, a month, 6 months, how much treatment is ahead of me, what's it going to be like in 3 years, and you just can't wrap your head around that kind of thing. So, I try to talk to patients about putting the faith in whatever they believe first, but also putting the faith in the fact that I'm sure they have a good medical staff at their ready, and let the experts be the experts. Don't feel like you need to have all the answers. Put the faith in what they know. And here's the cool part is you can apply all of that philosophy that I just said to racing as well. So whether
Hmm.
you're a patient or whether you're an athlete, it's kind of very similar. You can't sit at the start of an Ironman triathlon or the start of a marathon and think, oh my God, I have 3, 4, 5, 15 hours of racing ahead of me. You take it in bite-sized chunks and you say, I just need to get off the start line. I just need to get through the first mile, or I just need to get to the 5 mile mark. And it's a very similar mentality to take life and everything associated with it in small bites.
You have been an inspiration to a lot of people, but also me. Your book, I have it. You've written several books, but I have a copy of this, and I've read it many, many, many times. And it tells your story of how you recovered, and but then last year there was a little setback. Oh, I
Sure.
just want to mention that your website is remissionman.com, and there will be a link below if anyone wants to visit that website or contact Steve. Um, but last year in 2012, I mean 2013, no, not last year, a
We're in
couple
14.
years ago. What year are we in now? Uh, in 2012, you had a little setback. So can you share that with us?
Yeah, I went through a spell, and keep in mind, I was diagnosed in 2006, underwent, immediate treatment and then follow-up treatment, and then was checking blood levels every 6 months. And I was in a really good place. I hit remission fast and was able to get back to my normal life relatively quickly. And I had all the hopes and dreams that this entire thing was completely in my rearview mirror and a thing of the past. Well, my heart believed that, but in my, mentally, I knew that it's a chronic condition. The possibility exists that it can always rear its ugly head at some point in time down the road. And that happened again not too long ago. And I was just starting to feel off, and be it a blessing or a curse when you are an athlete and you're very in touch with your body, you know when things are just a little bit out of kilter. And
So
that's
you
kind
knew it
of
was more than just the general fatigue from training so hard.
right. And if, you know, if a less active person would feel some of these symptoms, they might just chalk it up to any number of things and not pay any attention to it. But I wasn't my normal, energetic, active. I wasn't attacking life the way I like to and the way I was, and I knew something was off. So, you know, lo and behold, my white count was starting to escalate again. A CAT scan did reveal some lymph nodes that were on the move and growing again. So, you know, we went back to some of the same treatment that we did the first time around, not as long or as aggressive, and not the all the same cocktail of drugs, but the one targeted therapy that worked really well. We did need to go through several rounds of that, but you know, you take your meds, you do what you got to do, you put it back in place, and I had the blessing and opportunity to yet meet several more people through that whole process, and that's been the best part of it for me. You know, you think of a diagnosis as an oh my god moment, but I, I've had a positive experience through treatment with my team, my medical team, with everyone I've met along the way, with people I've been able to help out through various patient advocacy groups, and it's been a positive experience. And this last, you know, relapse, if you will, has been just more of the same.
You know, you have been a coach for team and training. Did you start that after your diagnosis in 2006, or was that something you did prior?
After by about a week,
Oh, okay. That's
I
good how you didn't sit
immediate
in the
immediate
why is me, why is this happening to me stage, that you said, how can I help others
yeah, and that's
that
exactly what I
are
did
going through
because
the same thing or have
I,
gone?
I knew of the group, right? Because being involved with racing, I mean, team and training has such a big physical presence at so many events. You see their purple jerseys everywhere, and you're like that. You just knew that that was a strong community,
Mhm.
um, and one that I would have often liked to be involved with somehow. I mean, I have a short list of things I want to get involved with and people I want to support, and they were definitely on my list. I also knew who one of the coaches was at the time.
Mhm.
So when I was diagnosed, it was kind of a no-brainer. I just called the then head coach and I said, "Hey, here's the story."
How
And
can
I,
I
I
help?
think I think it was the very same week. I think I was diagnosed on a Tuesday, and I was at practice either that Saturday or the very next Saturday, and
Wow.
was helping on as an assistant tri coach.
Wow, that's pretty cool. So with team and training, I just want to ask you a couple of questions about that. Um, there are a lot of people that run on behalf of their friends and loved ones that have experienced that, and then there are survivors that run. Um, if someone is watching this and they're hearing your story and they're saying, "Oh, that's I know this story. That's my friend, my family member, or that was me. I'm in remission." And what are some training tips or some motivational tips that you can give them to um, take action right away, like what you did with signing up to be a coach, taking action and not focusing on the treatments and getting emotionally down about that.
There's so many activities you can engage in, and it doesn't matter what the charity is. But when we're talking about team and training, so let's stick with that for the minute.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Team and Training or Leukemia and Lymphoma Society is a huge organization with so many volunteer opportunities. You know, if you have the least bit of an interest to support an organization like that, you can get involved with any number of volunteer, you know, activities, either administratively through mailings and phone calls, and you know, just reaching out and partnering with community network partners and that kind of thing. But you can also get involved with any of the number of athletic events that they do, be it walk, run, marathons, cycle events, or the triathlon organization. And if you're not ready to get involved as an athlete, you can get involved as a volunteer and still support the mission, the cause, the sport. But what I will encourage people to do, if you have the least bit of an interest as a survivor or not a survivor, but just to support the organization as an athlete, if you have that little bit of an inkling in the back of your head that said, "Boy, I wonder if I could ever think about doing a marathon, half marathon, triathlon," do it. Sign up and do it with team and training. And I don't want to come across as I'm selling a program, but I'm selling a
Yeah,
program.
you're a big supporter. Yeah.
But here's why. It's because it enables people to take on a huge, um, we'll call it a risk, but like a very calculated and a very safe risk with a big safety net underneath them. We provide great coaching, great support. Nobody fails our program. And I get to watch people's comfort zone. They show up in the beginning, some people very timid, very hesitant, very nervous about what they're about to do. And I watch their confidence and their comfort level grow and expand. And then to watch them cross the finish line, I get so much more satisfaction out of that than any of my own finishes, because I've just watched that person grow 20 times greater than what they showed up with on day one. And it's just the coolest thing to be a part of. So, if you have any interest, that's the place to do it, and you should sign up.
Definitely, definitely. Teamandtraining.org.
Or, yep,
Okay,
yep.
teamandtraining.org. And then we'll have link below too, so you can contact Steve if you have any questions. Um, so your family, your entire family has become runners. So, and you talked about being a good influence on your girls. Do they all run now?
I won't say they all run. They're all active. They've been through various phases of running. My daughter and I have done my older, I can't just say my daughter. My younger daughter Danielle and I have done a couple of events together. My older daughter Jennifer and I have done a couple of events together. They've also since kind of found their own niche. My older daughter is very heavily involved in the CrossFit community and has become a certified CrossFit trainer. It's a little scary to see some of the stuff she's been doing in the CrossFit gym. Like I'm afraid of her at this point. She's just become a very, very strong, very talented athlete. My younger daughter has gone through a kickboxing phase, and I've seen some of the work she was doing in the gym. And when I see her flailing those pink boxing gloves around, they're not the little girls anymore that I used to
Right.
that I used to carry up to bed every night.
They're true athletes. Yeah.
They're true athletes.
Yeah, that's pretty good. So here we are at the beginning of 2014. You've gone through treatment for the second time. Are you finished with all of your treatments?
I am.
Finished with them? What's your plans for the upcoming year as far as
Um,
races and
yeah, I've
do you have
got the
some?
big races. I got the stakes in the ground for the big races. The first significant one probably won't be until June, and there's a new iron distance triathlon event coming into the Atlantic City area. So we'll be in the New Jersey neck of the woods. It's
Nice.
put on by an organization called Challenge, and they're huge in Europe. And this is their first venture into the States with Challenge USA, an iron distance race right in the Atlantic City community.
And that will be this year.
That'll be June 29th. So I'm
Okay.
really looking forward to that. Although it's a national or an international organization, they partner with local race directors to actually execute the event. And two very good
Awesome.
friends of mine are the local race directors. So I'm really looking forward to A, helping them, get that event some exposure, but also being an athlete on the start line. And then in the fall, of course, I'll be doing New York Marathon again as part of the Grassroots Soccer Organization, which is a charity founded by a good friend of mine, Mr. Ethan Zahn. And then probably Philly Marathon again. And now I got to fill in the missing pieces, all the shorter races, some of the training races leading up to the big events. So it'll be a fun year, but a busy and active year. And of course, training the team and training group. We kick off our new season tomorrow for a whole new crop of athletes that will take through training, and they'll race in the Tri-Rock Philadelphia Triathlon also in June.
Ah, that sounds really good. I will be there in June to watch you.
Awesome.
That's
June
a
29th.
promise.
I'll get
That
you the
is a promise.
details.
I will be
Yeah,
there.
super.
So, any other last tips you can give our viewers that are wanting to just do it, like
Just do
Nike says, just do it. If they've been back and forth, because I went back and forth. I've been, you know, in the fitness industry for many years and done various, certified in various things and done various things. Running was always a different animal, which runners will tell you, and I'm sure you agree. But you inspired me to run, along with
Really?
several other people that I had interviewed that were runners and coming from remarkable situations. And yeah, so yeah, you turned me into a runner.
Sherri, I could talk for days on this subject, but I think the one comment that I hear from people that is the most upsetting to me and the easiest to overcome is when people say, I would love to run, but I can't. I get so winded after, 100 yards or a quarter mile or a half mile. And I kind of liken it to the concept of picking up a musical instrument, or trying anything for the very first time. Don't set the bar too high, right? It's a development process that you need to work your way through. So don't expect that I'm going to be a runner tomorrow. I'm going to go to the running shoe store. I'm going to get a new pair of shoes. I'm going to go out on a 5 mile trek and I'm going to declare myself a runner. Well, that's not how it's going to happen. It's going to be a very slow and gradual buildup. Expect some crummy days, expect some good days, and expect to be able to utilize a walk run program, where you start out walking, you break into a little bit of a run, you take a walking break, you run some more. And, there are some great walk run programs out there that before you know it, you are doing very little walking and a whole heck of a lot of running. So that, my advice is be comfortable with the process. Don't consider a walking break to be failing to run. It's all part of the development.
Don't set the bar too high. I like that.
Also,
Um,
make your goals manageable and reasonable. It's just like this time of year when you see people setting their New Year's resolutions and they
right.
say, I'm going to lose 50 pounds by May and I'm going to be in the gym 7 days a week for an hour and a half. Well, guess what? No, you're
That
not
won't
going to
last.
do any of those things.
Right. You might try, but that won't last. But
Yeah,
good.
then you'll get frustrated.
You've given some great tips. Thanks again for sharing your story. And I want to encourage everyone watching that if you have a health recovery story or a unique fitness story, please contact me. There'll be a link below, and we can share your story to everyone and help inspire, which you have inspired many, many people. If you like this information and like this story, please like it and share it with your friends, and please subscribe. So again, thank you very much, Steve, for
It was
all
a
the
pleasure.
contributions you've made to Health Fitness Broadcast over the years. And
Thanks.
we'll keep in touch because I will be there in
I'm
June.
psyched.
I'll have my eye on you and maybe my
Great.
camera too.
All
All
right.
right, take care.
Thanks. Take care.